Hello brain nerds, my name is Jace and welcome to the Big Brain Busters. So in this video I am going to be basically talking about an anatomy overview. So at the end of this video I expect you to actually have a basic idea of what anatomy is all about if you are new to the medical language. This video is going to be much based on the anatomy Mulungushi University syllabus, but even if you're not from Mulungushi University, I'd still urge you to actually watch this because I mean it's medicine, so medicine is the same everywhere. So it's going to give you a basic language about what anatomy is all about. Even if you didn't have an idea, at least you will have an idea of what you expect when talking about anatomy. You're going to know what anatomy is, you're going to know the difference between anatomy and physiology, and the approaches on how to study anatomy. Okay, so what is anatomy? Anatomy is simply the study of the human body or the structure of the body. So ana means up, tomi means cut. So cutting up of the body for studying purposes. Okay, that's what anatomy is. So another word that is synonymous to anatomy is dissect or dissecer. So dissect is simply to cut, alright? Then is anatomy and physiology the same thing? No. Anatomy is the study of the structure of the body. Then when we talk of physiology, it's simply how the body works. In short, we are studying the mechanism of how the body carries out the functions. Okay, an example that I can give is simply that of a stomach. So if I were to say, okay, explain the anatomy of the stomach, I can the stomach, I can describe it in an anatomical way to say the stomach is simply a J-shaped organ. It is found in the abdomen, and it has a capacity about 1,500. It is pinkish brownish in shape, I mean sorry, in color. Wow. In color, yeah, something like that. So that's, I'm describing the structure. Okay, I'm describing the structure. But then when I tend to describe the physiology of the stomach, I talk of the mechanism of how the stomach carries out its function. And as we know that the stomach is a digestive organ, so how does the stomach actually carry out digestion? In short, you talk about how the stomach secretes hydrochloric acid. How does the stomach protect itself from that corrosive hydrochloric acid? And how does the stomach actually cause those contractions to actually make those mixing movements of it to make that acidic chyme together, break down the food in it, all that's the mechanism. Another practical example that I can give is that of a car engine, though you won't talk of a car engine in medicine, but it's just an example. So if I were to say, okay, describe the anatomy of a car engine, so you mention the parts of a car engine, the structure of the car engine. So you'll be like, the car engine is consists of cylinders, it consists of pistons, it consists of a crankshaft, it consists of fuel injector, it consists of a camshaft. So that's the structure of the car engine. But then if I were to say describe the physiology or mechanism of the car engine, so the mechanism of the car engine is simply by internal combustion. That's how the car engine is able to convert that fuel into mechanical energy, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, for the car to move. So you describe the mechanism. So how is the mechanism? So you say, okay, air is pumped into the cylinders, and then the pistons compress that air to produce heat, and then from that, when the pistons compress that air, we know that the fuel injectors will actually inject fuel into the cylinders. Then that fuel will be mixed with that hot air, yeah, in such a manner, then yeah, blah blah blah. That's the mechanism. That's internal combustion. So you see, I hope you've gotten the whole idea of the difference between anatomy and physiology. Yeah, something like that. Then when we talk of the approaches of studying anatomy, so what are the approaches of studying anatomy? So mainly anatomy has got three approaches. We have regional anatomy, systemic anatomy, and clinical anatomy. So when studying anatomy, depending on the syllabus that your school has decided to actually use, like for example for Mulungushi University medical students, we use regional anatomy. and systemic anatomy, then and some clinical anatomy. Yeah, because clinical anatomy is also important, where you get to talk about now what goes wrong in anatomy, like the I don't know, diseases and stuff, what can go wrong in the structure of the body. Yeah, something like that. So when we talk of regional anatomy, talk about you study the structure of the body according to the regions, and the regions are, you have the upper limb, lower limb, you have the thorax, the abdomen, you have the pelvis, you have the head and the neck. That's regional anatomy. Then when you talk of systemic anatomy, you're talking about studying the body or the structure of the body in its systems, okay, the systems of the body. Then clinical anatomy, like I've said, you now look at the correlations now of the structure of the body, now what can go wrong, or perhaps what are the clinical applications of anatomy. Yeah, something like that. Then now, before you actually study anatomy, I would actually urge you to actually have, a brief, or perhaps in fact you must know the language of anatomy, the anatomical terminologies. Like, let's say for example, you'll be hearing words such as anterior, posterior, lateral, medial, caudal, and something like that. Yeah. So you might get confused with that anatomical language. So I would rather actually urge you to actually start with the anatomical terminologies, so that you can actually know what they're talking about. To say, okay, when they talk of anterior, they're talking about front of something, the front of the body. When you talk of posterior, you're actually talking about the back. When you talk of lateral, it's in the sides. When you talk of yeah, something like that. Medial, you're talking about in the middle, something like that. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to tell you about on anatomical terminologies. You must know the terminologies that you use in medicine. So what you will cover throughout the year in regional anatomy. So regional anatomy for medical students, Molongosh University, this is what mostly you will cover. But I'm urging you that I'm not a lecturer. I'm just, a helper who has decided to actually come and help you out with what you need to know. But then the most significant information that you will get is from your lecturers in class. So I urge you, do not miss class. This is just me offering, my help to actually make you know something that you need to know, something like that. Yeah, so this is what you might cover in term one, let me put it that way. But your lecturers will actually give you more guidance, more significant guidance. So in histology, you will actually learn epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nerve tissue. These are the four basic tissues of the body. Then you also look at the histology of the skin. All right, the histology of the skin. Then you by the way, I forgot to tell you also this. Anatomy is divided into three sections: histology, embryology, and gross anatomy. So histology is simply, studying under the microscope, so things that we are not able to see, the cells, the tissues, and stuff. So yeah, that's the histological point of view of anatomy. Then the embryological point of view of anatomy, you study anatomy from the beginning, the development, how the structure of the body is actually developed. So you start in term one with general embryology, where you talk of these subtopics that I've listed here, but I've left out other things. You will be further guided in class. Then you have gross anatomy. Gross anatomy in term one, you will look at the upper limb and lower limb, of which you are going to look at such as muscles of the upper limb, blood supply, nerve supply, which is simply the brachial plexus. So a plexus is just simply a group of things. So whenever you hear plexus, it can be a group of nerves, or it can be a group of blood vessels, something like that. Yeah, then the lower limb, you also look at these subtopics that I've listed here, but otherwise it's a lot. I've just mentioned a few. Okay, a few to mention. We'll proceed. So these are the four basic types of tissue types in the body that you're going to look at in histology. Yeah, like general histology in short. Yes. So in term two, this is what you might cover. Like you will cover thorax, you will cover abdomen, you will cover pelvis and perineum. So yeah, this is mainly what you cover. So whenever you cover thorax, like let's say for example you cover thorax, you cover the surface anatomy, including the breasts in females, because remember, we are clinicians, so we should always be able to view the internal part of the body, even without cutting. Yeah, you must be able to actually view the structures inside the body without cutting, because not always that for you to actually see the structure you're supposed to cut. Okay, then you look at the bones, the muscles, everything. Then when you talk of organs of the thorax, you'll be looking at them in terms of their gross, their histological point of view, and their embryology. So for example, if I were to talk about the heart, so you look at the gross anatomy of the heart, the structure, then you look at the histology, the cells that make up the heart, the tissue and stuff. Then you look at the embryology of the heart, how it develops and stuff. Same as the abdomen, and same as the pelvis, and the perineum. Don't worry about all these medical terminologies that I'm busy mentioning here. It will all make sense. Trust me, it will all make sense as you proceed. It's nothing much. It's nothing personal. Yeah, it's nothing much hard. It's very interesting actually. Then in term three, this is what you will cover. You will cover head and neck. Yeah, so head and neck. I've left out lots of things because head and neck is also I don't know. It has also a lot of things. So I've left out lots of things here. So you cover head and neck, the gross part, then you also cover the neuroanatomy of head and neck. For me, my favorites were the cerebellum, the brainstem, the cerebellum, yeah, the brainstem, the basal ganglia, and the limbic system. These were my favorite topics in neuroanatomy. I don't know why. I just found them pretty interesting. But yeah, it's interesting. All right. So these are some of the diagrams that I've put up. So this is the upper limb. As you can see, I've just put the surface anatomy, how where you are able to just view the structures just without cutting here. So this is the lower limb. Then this is the thorax. All right. So this is the thorax. Then where the diaphragm ends, that's where the abdomen begins. Then this is the pelvis, where you talk about the pelvic viscera in both male and female. You differentiate between the male and female pelvis, blah 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 and stuff. This is the head and neck, yeah, something like that. Then when you talk of systemic anatomy, so you study anatomy according to systems. So for example, if I were to bring about the skeletal and muscular system, so you talk about the skeletal system from head to toe, all the bones, ligaments, tendons, and everything that are here. Then you talk of a muscular system, you talk of all muscles from head to toe. Yeah, then as much as you're talking about the gross part, you'll be also talking about the histological part. So you look at the bone, the histological part of the bone, histological part of the muscle. Yeah, then you look at the integumentary system, the histological part of the skin. In short, the integumentary system is the skin. So you look at the histology and the gross part of the skin. Then you look at now all the systems at once, because due to time, so I just listed them here. So this is the integumentary system for the skin, skeletal system, muscular system, sensory for the senses, motor, movement, integrative system. So it does integration. All right, carries out integration to your all your systems and stuff, thought stuff. Then you have the autonomic nervous system, where now you have the parasympathetic and sympathetic. Then you have cardiovascular system, respiratory system, digestive system, endocrine system, reproductive system. These are all the systems that you will cover much in systemic anatomy. Right, so this is the end of my video, where I end here. I hope you have at least some idea, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So, and please stick with me in this at this YouTube channel, because I am going to be posting lots of videos that will have much of important content. So don't forget to subscribe, please, so that you can be receiving our newest updates of the videos. Alright, so with that being said, I end this video here. Shalom shalom.